Hello, I'm Neville. I have a lovely wife called Pat, who we've lived together, been married to. I wouldn't say lived together because lived together sounds too worldly and what's happening in the world today. But a lovely wife of 66 years, through the ups and downs of life. And fortunately, we produced 3 boys between us, and Greg is the oldest, and Clive is the second, and Barry was the youngest. Unfortunately, he had an accident when he was 21 and he went to be with the Lord. But my family is very important to me, and important to both of us, because having been married for so many years, you don't live separate lives. It's a joint effort. And we've learned many lessons over this journey, and I appreciate that now I have grandchildren. My son's got married to beautiful ladies, and Clive married late and got an adopted daughter, Emma, and I have Jamie and Missy, who have been part of our life. And just over the past few weeks, I've been reading one of Sonia's books on healing love and getting an insight into the journey that they've taken, Greg and Sonia, the tremendous journey they undertook with the illnesses of Missy and the brittle bones of Jamie. And I just saw a family that has moved together. It's quite a phenomenal experience to reminisce on these things. And more so because of the recent happenings. You go on life's journey and you think everybody tells you you're looking good at 90, and you get a little bit of pride sometimes and think, oh yes, I'm not such a bad chap. But then the Lord comes in, and I thank God for the way that He works, because without God in my life, I don't think our marriage would have lasted the 66 years that it has, and that the joy that we've experienced with our walk with the Lord. But then all of a sudden, illness strikes, and we've had quite a bit of illness this year, with Pat's stay in the hospital for 11 days, and still a few queries to be answered there, which we are trusting the Lord for. But then all of a sudden I got this, what I thought was bronchitis, and felt really terrible, and found myself collapsing in the bathroom twice and in the lounge once, thinking that it was just one of the weakness from the fever or the flu or whatever I had, and not quite sure what was happening, except that I couldn't get up off the floor. That was quite something. Eventually, between the first time, Pat and I managed it on the first time, and between Pat and I, we got myself on my feet. But the third time, we had to call Clive and Joanne in to help us. And of course, they said, you should have seen the doctor. You're going to the doctor tomorrow. Even Joanne wanted to send us to the emergency that night. So we prevailed on them to leave us. We got me to bed, and I woke up in the morning and we made the appointment with the doctor. And then, of course, she took a look at me and said, oh, I don't like what I'm seeing. I think you're verging on pneumonia and your place is in hospital. Not the news I wanted to hear. I was just thinking I was going to get an antibiotic and be on my way. But nevertheless, we wound up in hospital. And then the physician that was attending to us and did a few tests, and then he took an ECG in the next morning, and then he didn't like what he saw in the ECG and called in the cardiologist, and the cardiologist did his tests over the next course of a few days. And lo and behold, he says, my My heart was a little bit damaged, actually very badly damaged, but that I would have to have an angiogram, but she couldn't do until they'd cleared up my physical problem. And the physician that was attending to me said that he took lots of blood tests and eventually came up with the fact that it was influenza. He got the right antibiotic, and the cardiologist had said that he couldn't do anything until the influenza had been cleared up. So he arranged to do that on I think it was the Wednesday morning, for an angiogram. And I went in and saw all this wonderful apparatus and this camera, and it's floating around, and at the corner of my eye I saw a bit of the screen and what was happening, but didn't understand a word. And when he'd finished, he said, and while he was doing it, he was making observations, that's gone, that's gone. So eventually, to cut a long story short, we finished the angiogram, and then he came back in the afternoon, gave me the report that my heart there were blockages, and he showed me with the pictures which I didn't profess to understand. There were some black marks and some bigger black marks, and he explained that some arteries had sort of disappeared somewhere, but basically that I would need a stent. And he suggested that we call everybody in the family together, and we all went to his rooms, and he told us the risks that were involved, and he said there were 3 options. One was to do nothing. The second one was to go and have the stent put in, and the third one was to go the full hog for the bypass, which he said, with my age and with the invasive surgery that it would involve, that wasn't, he wouldn't suggest that path. And we would have to make a decision whether to have the stent. All the options, of course, had the risk. If we did nothing, I could have a heart attack, and he says that would definitely be it. The stent, he explained that they would have to clear a blockage completely, that when the artery wasn't working, clear the blockage and put the stent in. But doing that, there was the danger that when they withdrew the probe, that bits and pieces could fly off and could even cause a heart attack or a stroke while I was at the table. So there was that tremendous risk of dying in the theatre. But we all sat together. Clive was there, and Mum was there, and our friend Jean, who was the carer for the sister at the complex, the retirement village. And everyone seemed to be of the opinion that the stent was the way to go. So I came back to the ward with Jean, and I couldn't get over the peace that I had in my heart. It could only have come from God, because I'm a natural worrier. But I had an enormous peace that whatever decision we eventually decided on, God would be in it, and I would have no fear. And I just want to give thanks to my family for our fellowship at Sarnia, everybody, the prayers that were going up. I'm sure it was only the prayers that gave me that peace in my heart, and that I've still got. And that's the journey thus far. Thank you.